All right, so this is a suggestion via donation. The name of the video is Time Travel Really Possible? This is coming from the channel Second Thought. Let's check it out. I'm just going to go ahead and give you my opinion really quickly before we start. Do I think time travel is possible? No. I think, well, in a way, it's possible because we can prove it, right? I mean, look at the night sky. You're time traveling in a sense, right? You're looking into a very distant past, right? Now, can we send things? No. But can we view them, I think? Probably. I don't know how we would be able to go into the future, though. I think James Webb pretty much proves that we can look at the past even clearer if we had the devices to actually go into space, right? But time travel, like how science fiction has depicted it to us for half of a century? No, I don't think so, guys. But let's go, right?
Imagine you own a watch that lets you travel through time. One day, you get the bright idea to travel back to the 1920s to mess with your grandparents. You press a few buttons, and suddenly you're standing beside old Pappy, who's taking in the scenery at the precipice of the Grand Canyon.
Okay.
Since you've never been the biggest fan of your grandfather, you decide to push him over the edge.
The grandfather paradox.
Gravity does its thing, and a few seconds later, no more Pappy.
And now you disappear.
But wait, if you killed your grandfather before he ever met your grandmother, you wouldn't have been born to be able to go back in time and kill him.
Right. I mean, that's if we're time traveling exclusively through some type of like linear path, right? But if we were going to some like multiverse theory, can we add in the multiverse theory into the time travel theory? Then the grandfather paradox would be somewhat irrelevant because, yeah, you deleted your grandfather. That means you're gone very specifically in this new now parallel universe, but you yourself still exists because you didn't delete yours and yours because I don't think you can time travel in a linear basis. I don't think so. I'm not for it, guys. Right? I don't think that you're in your very specific thing. Well, I guess all time travel will, for the most part, be linear. If it's going forward or backwards, it doesn't matter. But if we can add that into the multiverse theory, and then we're time traveling exclusively into a different parallel universe, then I'm here for that one. I like that theory. But I just don't think that you can,
Here's the problem. If you didn't exist to kill your grandfather, you couldn't have killed him. Because you didn't kill him, he's still alive.
Right.
But that would mean that you yourself would be alive. And now you can go back in time to kill him. And so the endless loop goes on. This is called the grandfather paradox.
Right.
And it's part of what makes time travel so interesting. The grandfather paradox deals with time travel on a significant scale. But why don't we start with something a little smaller? Let's say you and I are wearing identical watches, and we synchronize them right before I blast off into space.
Okay.
In the space shuttle, I'm traveling at roughly 28,000 kilometers per hour relative to the Earth.
Okay.
If I make a few orbits around the Earth before I return, when we compare watches, we'll see that less time has passed for me. A very, very tiny amount of time, but it's there nonetheless.
Right.
This is called time dilation, and it simply means that according to Einstein's theory of relativity, time measured along different trajectories is affected by differences in either gravity or velocity, each of which affects time in different ways. One example of time dilation is when we compare the passage of time on the ISS versus on Earth. After spending 6 months on the space station, astronauts have aged approximately 0.005 seconds less than those of us here on Earth. Of course, this is a very insignificant amount of time.
It's pretty relevant.
It would be much more apparent if the
But the fact that it happens is the important part, right? Obviously.
astronauts were able to travel closer to the speed of light. Interestingly, the effects of time dilation are fairly minor, even up to around 70% the speed of light. However, once we reach 75% or so, the effects become dramatic. Now, bear with me here, because this is where things get a bit weird.
Go ahead.
Possibly the strangest aspect of special relativity is that distances shrink in the direction of motion. When we think of traveling to a point 10 light years away at 90% of light speed, you would expect it to take 11 years, right? That's not exactly the case. To a stationary observer, it would indeed seem to take your vessel 11 years. But to the people inside the vessel, not only time, but distance would dilate, and you would reach that point in only 4.4 years. Want to play with time dilation yourself? I've added a link down below to a time dilation calculator. Okay, that's all really fascinating, but is it really time travel?
There's a time dilation. Oh, guys. Okay, this video may be too much for me to handle mentally, guys. I'm just going to let you know. I'm going to now obsess over this calculator for probably a week. God, guys. guys. Okay.
Perhaps not in the sense that we usually think of it, but according to the nature of space-time, it is. If you were to return home from your 90% light speed trip, you would be almost 9 years older, but everyone back on Earth would have aged 22 years. So, in essence, you've traveled 13 years into the future relative to your time in space. Let's look at another example. In the film Interstellar.
Bro, I have to watch this movie, guys. Don't spoil me too. Please don't spoil me too bad, bro.
Cooper and his team land on a large watery planet.
Okay, they're just straight spoiling me. Okay.
On which gravity is 30% stronger than on Earth. This planet is situated very close to a supermassive black hole called Gargantua, which it orbits at 55% the speed of light. Gargantua's mass is equal to that of 100.
Guys, that's an amazing depiction of a black hole, guys. Is this from the movie, or is this just a random like AI generated image? Because whoever designed this it's like they've been there. Have you been there?
100 million suns and spins at 99.8%
like
the
it
speed
looks
of light.
legit.
The combination of all these factors have the effect of slowing down time relative to the astronaut left aboard the ship by a staggering 61,000 times. That means that 1 hour on the planet is equal to 7 years aboard the ship. When the team makes it back to the vessel after a little over 3 of their hours, their friend had aged by 23 years. The craziest part is that this isn't just science fiction. Those calculations all check out. That's exactly how it would happen in real life. So, in essence, the crew had traveled 23 years into the future. Now, so far we've only...
Guys, I never thought about this. Like, so I've encountered time dilation before, right? Like, in terms of like in books and things like that, but I've never actually realized that you could, I mean, I guess it makes all the sense in the world that obviously if you're traveling at the speed of light, you are by definition time traveling. Time is basically decided by light, right? Like, what is time? Light, right? So yeah, but you can't go backwards though. All right, you can't go backwards. Okay, so you can go forward, but not backwards. Or actually, yeah. Because if you actually travel back at the speed of light and everyone is older, you're still young, for the most part, you just missed a whole lot of life. Well, I guess it's still going forward there, too. Guys, I love theorizing about these things. It's amazing.
Explored traveling into the future. Is it
Get your
possible
brain
to travel
working.
backwards in time? According to some theories, specific types of motion in space might allow time travel into the past and future if these geometries and motions were possible.
Okay.
However, that's a big if. It would require something called a closed time-like curve, or CTC for short.
It's like the concept of folding space.
A CTC is a closed loop in space-time, which could theoretically allow...
Yeah, it's like for example, if you were going to be traveling long distances, I think the smartest way to actually get from planet to planet to planet would probably be attempting to find a way to fold space, right? And so instead of making the distances, the distance between here and here, super far, but if you fold them, they're not so much. I'm obviously quoting what Omok from Stargate right now, guys, right? But either way, right? The distance between here and here are long, but if we fold them, not so much. Let's do that.
an object
That could be probably time travel-y. Doesn't seem very plausible right now,
to return to its own past. The science behind time travel to the past is incredibly complex and speculative, and many scientists suspect that it's not possible at all because of the issue of causality. That brings us back to the grandfather paradox. If in fact these scientists are correct in assuming traveling to the past would cause a paradox, then we have our answer. Time travel to the past is impossible. If, however, the Novikov self-consistency principle is correct, then there's still a chance. The Novikov principle states that if an event exists that would cause a paradox or any change to the past whatsoever, then the probability of that event is 0.
Well, we kind of know that it's impossible. We can travel to, no, we actually can't. We don't have the technology. But if we could travel to some of the stars that we see in the night sky, right, we would notice that they're no longer there, probably, right? And that in itself is a paradox, no? I mean, because think about it, guys. We can do it if we could do it, right? But there's nothing going to be there, guys. It's not possible. We see it. It's just not real. It's real, but it's not real. I just confused the hell out of myself. I'm sorry, guys.
It would thus be impossible to create time paradoxes. Unfortunately,
Apologies.
for any would-be time travelers, the Novikov principle is not widely accepted.
Right. Forward.
Another possibility
Okay, makes
would
sense.
be the existence of wormholes, which
Viewing the past is plausible. I would say that would probably be the most plausible. But as long as you couldn't interact with the past, that's what I was trying to say before. As long as you couldn't interact with the past, I think that would be a plausible thing. But if you could interact or even make an attempt to influence the past, kind of like how like Bran in Game of Thrones, guys, right, where you can kind of close his eyes and see into the past. But he can also interact and kind of influence things that were going on in the past. But that type of thing there, I don't think is plausible. But being able to like remote view it would probably be extremely possible.
Which are technically permitted by general relativity.
That's what we do
to travel through
anyway,
time using
looking at the night sky.
It would have to be what is known as a transversable wormhole. Brace yourself for more strange space-time shenanigans here. In order to be able to travel through time using a transversable wormhole, its creation would have to be in one of two ways.
Okay.
Option 1. One end of the wormhole would have to be accelerated to a significant portion of the speed of light, then brought back to the origin point. Time dilation would result in the accelerated wormhole entrance aging less than the stationary one as seen by an external observer. Option 2 requires one end of the wormhole to be placed within the gravitational field of an object with higher gravity than the other entrance, and then return to a position near the other entrance. This is a difficult concept to grasp, so think of it this way.
Deep Space Nine, the wormhole aliens. Think of it that way. If you guys know Star Trek Deep Space Nine, very specifically, there was a wormhole that was kind of in proximity to the actual space station. That was that's basically what he's talking about. Let's get it.
Imagine you and I synchronized our watches to both display the year 2000. I hop in my ship and accelerate one entrance to the wormhole to near light speed, then bring it back. My watch now reads 2004, and yours reads 2012. If someone were then to enter the accelerated entrance, they would now exit the stationary entrance in the year 2004. The same location, but 8 years in their past. It's incredibly complicated stuff, but an easier way to look at it is by picturing...
Wait, no, say it again.
Exit the stationary entrance in the year 2004.
But why, but how would that be... But how? We say, okay, so we both set our watches to the year 2000.
2012. If someone were then to enter the accelerated entrance, they would now exit the stationary entrance in the year 2004.
The person from 04. Okay.
The same location, but 8 years in their past.
Right.
It's incredibly complicated stuff, but an easier way to look at it is by picturing a piece of paper.
Let's go.
This paper represents space-time. A wormhole is an area of warped spacetime with an entrance and an exit, which you can imagine as the paper being folded back on itself with a hole poked through it. Essentially, you're simply skipping all the time and distance between the 2 points. The problem with transversable wormholes is that you can't possibly travel back further than the initial creation of the wormhole. So really, it's more of a path through time rather than a device that propels itself back and forth through the years at will. It could be useful for people in the distant future wanting to come observe our time, but if we created such a portal today, we couldn't use it to go visit the dinosaurs. One final method that could potentially allow an individual to more or less travel through time is cryopreservation. The branch of science...
No, bro. The problem with any type of like cryogenics is that you have to find a way to kind of keep your cells functioning. I think that this is probably just going to be worthless up until we can actually like clone ourselves, like actually remove our consciousness, put our consciousness into some type of like simulation that keeps our brain functions moving, and then put our consciousness into a brand new clone. But a clone that would have been exactly how our body was to the exact, so it doesn't like confuse us, if that makes any sense, right? Like if we're missing anything that was once us before our consciousness was removed from our body, that wouldn't work, bro. It would just set us into like a random rage, guys.
And concerned specifically with preserving humans is called cryonics, and the practice has been around since the late 1960s. Cryonics is on the speculative edge of medicine, as its proponents suggest that death is not a singular event, but a process. It would have to be for the practice to be successful, because it's currently illegal for a human to be frozen before they die. When a person has opted to be cryopreserved, their body is prepared minutes after official death. The theory is that by reducing the patient's body temperature to around negative 130 degrees Celsius, enough brain information will be retained in an accessible state for doctors and scientists of the far future to revive the patient. Temperatures that low inevitably cause significant damage to the human body, regardless of cryopreservation safeguards. So the doctors of today are relying on the development of future technology that will allow the brain to be repaired at the molecular level and restored to functioning condition. If someday technology has advanced far enough to revive cryopreserved humans, they will have essentially time traveled to the future.
By
It's
definition.
not quite as easy as shows like Futurama make it seem, but it is theoretically possible. And that's time travel in a nutshell. You really can move forward through time by traveling at immense speeds or through cryopreservation,
Right.
but travel to the past is likely impossible. Of course, the science of quantum
Okay.
physics and time travel is incredibly vast and well beyond the grasp of most normal people, so we may be missing just one crucial element to understanding exactly how space-time works. But who knows?
Let's
Maybe
go.
someone from the far future will show up in our time and give us the key to unlocking the mystery. Or
Of the
would that cause a
past.
paradox? As always, I've included sources and links for further reading in the description.
I will be going there. Here's the thing. When I started out, I was thinking like maybe there was a way. No, I still think there's a way to view the past. Again, I'm from that school of thought, right? That thinks that looking up into the night sky is in fact time travel, because it is, right? We could prove that. But going there, I don't think so. I don't think it's going to cause any type of paradox, but I just don't think that it's a plausible thing to do. Like, we can go to some of the stars in the night sky, sure. But I don't think they'll be there. A good amount of them, at least, right? But, all right, listen. Let me know in the comments the next type of subject we should be checking out, and I will get into that as soon as I possibly can. I like nerding out over science stuff, guys. I'm just, science and history is kind of my forte, personally. But all right, listen, you guys all have an absolutely amazing day and enjoy your day thoroughly.